If you haven't liked or subscribed,
You're gonna be joking me.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back this week to episode, let's call it 4, maybe 4. Welcome back to episode 4 of the Fans View podcast. This week, you guys might be happy to know or sad to know, depending on if you like the sound of my voice. This is going to be a very quick intro. I'm actually in the midst of getting ready to leave for Charlotte. Going to be going and doing some nerd things and hopefully getting some guests, some upcoming episodes at the Gathering. Not the Gathering of the Juggalos, but a Team Arts Gathering. It's a big wrestling convention they have every year in Charlotte. So, with that said, I'm going to let our guest this week, kind of carry the torch. I'm so happy to have on Ricky Sapp. He's kind of a local near me. I live in a small town in South Carolina. He was actually born and raised about 30 minutes away from me, maybe. Such a fantastic guy. He's definitely the cliche of just as good of a football player as he is a human being. He's known as the dancing motivational speaker these days. His football days are behind him, and I think he's kind of decided coaching's not really, where his heart is right now either. We want to wish Ricky all the best and thank him for coming on. And hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed talking with him. Yeah, so if you guys would just go give me a like and a follow, subscribe to the pod, head over to the Fans View podcast on YouTube, drop a subscribe on there because you'll get the videos of upcoming interviews before they hit the podcast. Because I'm just I'm updating and uploading interviews in video form as I do them, but we're only letting the pod out once a week, so that's where we're at right now. As usual, I'm at Jurat on all socials. The link will of course be in the bio. I hate saying that. God, I hate saying that, but the link tree will be in the description of this podcast if you guys want to check anything out. I'm going to pass it to former Clemson linebacker, motivational speaker, and author, Mr. Ricky Sapp. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of the Fans View podcast. This week, you guys know how I am about my Clemson Tigers. I'm so excited to be joined by, and let me look down and read this because there's a lot of accolades. He was a 2005 first-team All-American coming out of Bamberg, Earhart. He was a 2006 freshman All-American honorable mention. He was a 2009 second-team All-ACC. Whew. He was a 5th-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the founder and namesake of the Ricky Sapp Foundation, which aims to help underprivileged children. And I think most importantly to him right now, he is the author of a new children's book called Dream Big.
Yeah.
So with that said, Ricky, how you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing well, man. How you doing, man?
I can't complain, right? Nobody wants to hear it.
Facts. Amen.
Hey, we're too close to football season to complain, my man.
Yes. Amen. You're right.
So I touched on it in the intro a little bit. I know one of your passions outside of football and stuff like that is the Ricky Sapp Foundation. I've been to a couple of your charities and fundraisers. They're always so much fun. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to get involved in the community like that?
Man, you know what? Growing up, I was always the friend in the group that I would just give. I would give my shirt off my back. So once I got drafted in 2010, it only made sense for me to start a foundation and to give back to my community. So I'm passionate about giving back and helping the kids.
Yeah, and I know I've been friends with you on Facebook for a while, and there's something that I always see pop up, and I didn't know the genesis of it, and I'd love to ask you about it now. Is CP and Talk to Me Tuesday?
So I don't know if you know or not, but I have my own podcast. It's called Talk to Me Tuesday, and I talk about one of my good friends, CP. He's kind of linked with my podcast, but nobody has never seen him. Well, at least they think they haven't. So nobody thinks he's real, but he is. I can confirm he's real. So I kind of use that to kind of promote my podcast and kind of get people guessing and thinking.
Yeah, I always see you on Facebook talking about CP, and I'm like, God, I feel like I'm out of the loop. I don't know who CP is. But man, you're always so happy and uplifting. I'm like, I don't care who CP is. Let's get behind him, whatever he's doing. So I know that obviously, community outreach and stuff is a passion of yours. But before community outreach, you were on the gridiron, you were on the football field. And I know it's going to be hard. You were there for so long. Do you have like, if somebody sits you down and needs to hear from you some of your just fondest memories of playing ball at Clemson, what would you tell them?
Family, the best fans in the world. And if I had to do it all over again, I'll pick Clemson 10 times.
Yes,
So
sir.
one of my, I get asked that question a lot about college football. One of my greatest moments that I always tell people is my first time ever going into a game, my freshman year, first game of the year, playing against Florida Atlantic, 2006. I run in and I look into the stands, and Clemson, man, their valley, it's loud, it's amazing, it's awesome, a lot of orange. And I'm looking, and I find my mom and dad, and I never forget my dad did this right here, and I'm like, what is he doing?
Yes,
So
sir.
that's my greatest moment, man, when I think about college football.
Man, that's so good to hear. People don't know it. And this is the Fans View podcast, and I don't even pretend to be impartial. I'm a Tiger, I'm a ride or die Tiger, and I can tell you, every time that cannon goes off, boy, you get those goosebumps every time. I don't care how many times you do it.
I got goosebumps thinking about it, man. Yeah.
And that kind of leads me to my next question, because you were with the program up until a couple years ago, I believe, right?
Yeah. Same coach. Yeah, sure was.
Is it the same thing as a player when you stepped on that field as a coach as well?
Oh man, I almost want to say it's even better, man, because as a player, now I got to see why the coaches were so tough and so so hard on us. But I have a new level of respect for Coach Sweeney and his whole staff and the whole Clemson football program, because you see how they run things, why they do
Right.
things, and man, I just got so much love and respect for Coach Sweeney and that whole staff and everybody in that building.
Yeah.
In terms of what they do, people don't see what they do behind closed doors. All they do is see on Saturday. So
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly.
Man.
Well, while we're talking about Clemson football, I hate to bring it up because I don't like Dabo slander on this podcast or in life in general. But where do you stand, as somebody that's been in the bubble and now looking, outside in? Where do you stand on the people that get so frustrated with Dabo because of his, I guess we call it his lack of interest in the transfer portal? What do you think about his stance on that?
Well, here's the thing, man. He has shown us that he's won. He's built an amazing program with great high character players, and I'm gonna ride with him until the wheels fall off. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that if what he has done up until this point has worked, I understand. He's won 10 games the last couple of years, but I'm gonna ride with him, man. I think that this is my opinion. I may be biased, but I think that he will show the world, man, that he will get back to the top, doing it his way.
I agree. You know what it is, I think, as Clemson fans, and you could speak to this probably too, is we're spoiled, boy.
Ooh.
We're spoiled. The last 10 years of Clemson football have been, I dare say, the golden age. A lot better than the 10 years before that. No disrespect to you or your teammates. We've gotten very spoiled. We'd have generational talent after generational talent. Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, T. Higgins, Mike Williams. That's just the offensive side of the ball.
Get it, man. I get it. Because I was here when we was going through that struggle and trying to get over the hump. So,
right.
Unfortunately, people think that you're supposed to win every year. And, I mean, I get it. I understand. But that's just not how life works, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to continue to chase winning and chasing. Sometimes you won't catch it,
All right, and I'm going to leave it alone, the Clemson subject, after this. But my last question for you on the topic: you were one of the few players. You played for Coach Bowden and Coach Sweeney, no?
I did, yes, sir.
What would you say was the biggest change, in the locker room and in the program between your freshman year when you walked into the Valley and your senior year when you walked out?
Man, that's a great question, man. I have to say, Coach Sweeney just brought so much energy, man. And who he is right now, he was the same exact guy he was when he was a receiver coach. So when he took over, people inside the building, we knew who he was. So we was like, all right, shoot, we know this guy is high, wears his faith on his shoulder, high energy, will hold you accountable. So I would say the energy, man. And then, I don't know if people know about this right here, but one of the cool things that I respect about Coach Sweeney is that when he took over as a head coach, this is what he said. He said, guys, it's not Clemson football, it's Clemson, it's everybody. So he brought the band to practice. He let the students come to practice. And I love Clemson band. So I mentioned family earlier, man. He kind of widened that to like, this is a family, man. So when I stepped on that field my senior year, I would say energy, and you just felt the love, and you felt like just everybody was.
Man, that is so good to hear from a fan's perspective
Yeah,
that he is that man behind the scenes that we see on ESPN, and catching flack in the media. It's so beautiful because not everybody's like that. You know what I mean? You have your warriors out there that aren't quite, on the level.
yeah. Listen, man. I got stories about Coach Sweeney that people will love, man. Who you see is who he is, man. Truly.
That's amazing to hear. So I guess then we have to transition to your NFL career. I know it didn't go exactly the way you wanted to,
I
but
went
you
10
were
years.
you were in the league, and you know what? A very small percentage of human beings get to play in the league. What would you say? What was it like when you first stepped foot in that professional locker room where you're not in college anymore? This is a job now. How quick were you to kind of assimilate yourself into the locker room? And was there anybody, that put their arm around your shoulder and said, "Come on, rookie, I'll show you the ropes"?
After he kicked my behind, Jason Peters, left tackle for the Eagles. Man, I get into training camp, and I played ball all my life. I've always, when there would beat offensive linemen, and not have to worry about their foot speed. But I get in training camp and I see him, big, strong dude, and I see him kick slide, and he's athletic, and he boom hit me in the chest. I'm like, holy crap, this is the NFL. So, but after he kicked my behind, he saw something in me, man. He saw potential in me. He was one of the first guys I never forget that put me to the side before the first preseason game. He was like, "Hey, man, I want to tell you, you got everything you need. Just keep working. This is how you should do this, and this is how you do that." So he was one of the first guys that kind of grabbed me.
And it's funny. I was watching when I was doing some research on you. Not that I need to do much because I'm a Ricky Sapp fan. I live in Hampton, for what it's worth, by the way.
Oh, big Hampton. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a local boy. I know who Ricky Sapp is. I did see in an interview that you did though that you had the opportunity. You came in just as Mike Vick was coming in.
Yes.
Fresh off the prison thing.
Yes.
Can you just kind of speak to your interactions with him, where he was in his life at that time?
So I always tell people this: mini camp, 2010. We all run on the field, and this is the end zone. This is all like rookies, and we're doing 11 on 11, I think. And Michael Vick, because before minicamp, we don't really see the older guys too much. Just when we saw guys. So all the rookies standing here in the end zone, left side. Over here is kind of the offense and some older guys. 11 on 11 outruns Michael Vick, and we standing in this corner like, that's Michael Vick, man. And he goes in, he drops back, he kicks off to the left, goes to the right, he plants and kicks off his score. And we was like, yeah, that's still Michael Vick. So that was an incredible moment, man. But Michael Vick was and is so humble, man. He's just one of the boys. Humble, and he was everything you think about a quarterback. Humble, down to earth, leader, and he talked about some of those things that kind of happened, man. So it was just cool to see him. It really was.
Yeah, and I guess that would be my follow up to you is obviously Michael Vick, the athlete. I mean, you couldn't hold a candle to him, especially at that time. But Michael Vick, the man, obviously you don't really have anything to compare it to because you weren't there for the Falcons days. But just how was he, just as a man, as a teammate? Was he one of those guys that would come to the rookies and offer a helping hand?
Man, he was like one of the boys, man. Like I said, he was everything you want in a quarterback. Just natural leader, and Michael Vick is like his magnitude is like it's huge. So when you see him walking around and he just looked like one of the boys and he's talking to everybody, it's like it's amazing to see. Because some guys, you don't they don't move like that. So he was
Yeah.
just person that comes to mind when I think about Michael Vick is he was just humble, down to earth, and amazing leader in my opinion.
And you know what? I didn't have this question written down, Ricky, and I know we'd already talked about your time at Clemson, but I don't think I could interview Ricky Sapp and not ask him about his freshman year. I mean, you were in our locker room with a super athlete in Gaines Adams, who we unfortunately lost way too soon.
Yeah.
Do you have any fun Gaines Adams stories?
Man, you know what? One comes to mind. I don't know if this is a funny one or a good one, but up in Clemson, it gets really cold.
Oh yeah.
It gets cold up here,
Yes,
and
sir.
it get cold. And before I tell that story, Gaines Adams was Gaines Adams. So of course, he's a big time senior, and in practice, whenever he wanted to come out, hey, I had to be alert and be ready to roll. So that's one thing I will say. But it gets really cold in Clemson, and during the season, before practice one day in the wintertime, I didn't have long sleeves for some reason. And I didn't go ask for none. So I grabbed some. I grabbed one from I took some from my other teammate and went outside and it's cold as crap. Well, my teammate came out and he was like, man, let me get my long sleeve back, man. I don't have one. So I gave that to him, and Gaines is standing nearby, and he had on a long sleeve or two long sleeves, and he said, "Man, here, man, take my long sleeve. Why would you not get a long sleeve?" And that was just who he was, though. He took me under his wing, and he did a lot of things like that for me, man. Was just teaching me, helping me come along, and just an amazing human being, man. Down to earth, funny, and so fun to watch. As a young freshman.
Yeah, he does. I feel like he really doesn't get talked about enough. Because he was before that golden age. He was during the Charlie era. Tommy Bowden. He doesn't get enough love.
Agreed. Agreed.
And that brings me to another teammate of yours that I know you have a story or two about. That other Bamberg bookend. You know who I'm going to ask you about.
Definitely do.
Mr. Daquan Bowers.
I definitely do. I got stories for days about that guy, man. High school. The cool thing about Daquan was he was so young, and we was older. Daquan was in ninth grade when I was a senior, and he was so big and so young and talented. And I remember going in training camp in high school, just seeing him, and just thinking to myself like, wow, this dude so big, so fast, so athletic. And I remember as we got closer, and then we found out we was related. Small town, everybody related.
Yeah, yeah, everybody related in Bamberg.
So we became close. That's my brother. I do have a story. I think the fans will enjoy this. So me and Daquan came to Clemson together, bookends. This is how they treated me and Daquan at Clemson. They treated us like if I got in trouble, he got in trouble. If he got in trouble, I got in trouble. So Coach Rump was our coach my senior year. We was in a meeting watching film. Now, people need to understand this about Daquan. Daquan is an X and O guy. Like he is. When it comes to X and O's, he's so smart and intelligent with the game. So he's all about film and all that good stuff. So we watching film one day with D Lyman, and I guess him and Coach Rump got into it, and it was fussing about something. Now, me, the other bookend, I wasn't really a film guy. But this day, I was kind of paying attention and focused, and I heard him kind of fussing, but I was like, man, I ain't got time for that. I'm watching film. Coach Rump kicks him out, and as Daquan walks by me, I'm like, man, what's going on? So as he walks out, Coach Rump looked at me and locked eyes at me, and he said, you get out too, follow your cousin. No, I can't make this up. But here's the great part about this story. We get down to the locker room, and Daquan is already laying down. And I get down there, and I'm like, bro, what is wrong with you? What is going on? Like I'm getting in, I'm ripping him. He looks at me and said, man, look, we got extra time to sleep, man. And I said, you know what? You're right. All right, okay. So that's a funny story about it, man. They treated us like that when we was at Clemson.
Man, that's a wonderful person to be attached to the hip to. Great God. I knew Daquan a little bit from my time at Wade Hampton, and man, he's always been just
Oh yeah.
he's gone.
Oh yeah. Oh
Good
yeah.
dude though, good dude.
Yeah.
What do you think about the I know I said we were done with Clemson, but I can never be done. What do you think about this talk that, and it's starting to look like it may be happening with Clemson leaving the ACC? Where do you think, where do you stand on that?
Man, thank you for asking that question, man. I grew up watching ACC football and seeing Florida State, Miami, Clemson. Long story short, I don't want to leave, man, because I grew up watching all these ACC football teams, man. So I don't want to change. But if it's for the better for us, and I would honestly want to see us go in the SEC. I really
Oh
would.
yeah.
Go over there and kick their behind in their conference. But I kind of want us to stay, man. And continue to dominate the ACC and continue to hopefully the other teams in the ACC continue to get better, so we can kind of uh, come back to what the ACC used to be when Miami was good, Florida State was good, and all other teams.
Yeah, I mean, are you of the mindset that these conferences are just getting just out of control? I mean, what do you think about all this conference realignment, just in general, not even?
I think it is, man. I think it is. Of course, it comes down to money, TV money, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
With the realignments, but you know what, man, it's kind of almost getting out of control, just like the transfer portal and the whole NIL, man. So it's kind of like a lot of chaos right now with college football. So I would say it's kind of getting out of control, and
Yeah.
they.
Yeah. I mean, I think we jumped the shark maybe when we put Stanford as West Coast as you can get into the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Man, it's far.
I mean, I wonder to myself now as a college football fan, how far away are we from 4 conferences, East, West, North, South, and just calling it a day? You know what I mean?
Man. Yeah. Here's what I always thought when they start talking about realignment. Why not just give us 2 SEC teams in the ACC, and then take 2 ACC teams and put them in the SEC? Take Clemson and somebody, I don't know, and let's just leave it at that. And let those other conferences do what they go do. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. That's just what I think.
It's crazy, but I agree with you about the SEC though, because you know what? At the end of the day, what's better than beating South Carolina? Beating South Carolina and it being a conference game.
Now that'll be better.
We'll break their heart one more different way.
Yes, sir.
To try to wrap this up for you, Rick, because I know you got things to do. I know you're in Maine right now, aren't you?
Well, I literally just got back today, man.
Oh, are you home? Well, can you talk a little bit about what you were doing in Maine? I know you were working with the kids. I'd love for the people to hear what you had going on.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to play with the New York Jets for 3 years, and Mike DeVito, long year NFL player, I think 8 years, 9 years, probably 10. He played with the Jets at the time when I was there, and he played at UMaine. His wife is from there, so he has a camp up there, and this is the 8th year. And he brought me in last year to help work the camp and speak to the kids. So he brought me back this year, and it's amazing, man. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Maine. Bangor, Maine is where it's at, but it's a 3-day camp. They do offense, defense, 7-on-7, and it's all kids from about, I think, 8 to 14, and it's at Herman High School that we had it this year. And I go in and help with the drills, and I speak, and it's an amazing time, man. And I get lobster every time I go, because you got to get lobster in Maine, man. That's
right.
Yeah.
All right, and my last question for you. Well, next to last question for you. When do we see Coach Sapp return? Do we see Coach Sapp return?
I don't think on the college level. My goal right now, man, is to become the #1 motivational speaker in the world. Especially for kids. I want schools to call me first when they think about coming to encourage the kids, and then when God tells me that it's time for me I can kind of retire from that. Then I wanna build my own school, and then be a principal and all that good stuff, and work with the kids. So I think, and then coach. But I think as far as coaching, I think it'll probably be high school level for me whenever I do go back. At least that's what I think. That's what I think.
Hey, that's not bad, man. I love that answer. I love
Yeah.
that answer. So, final question. This is the Fans View podcast. So I got to ask you, outside of maybe football or even including football, what are you a fan of right now? Like a movie, TV show, book, hobby, anything. Like, what's Ricky Sapp a fan of?
I'm a fan of nature, hiking. I love hiking. That's why I love the aspect of the motivational speaking. When I go different places, I can see different trails, different things in different cities. I'm also a fan of cycling. I think I'm the like Lance Armstrong, so I try to ride my bike a good bit. I like traveling, man. I'm gonna tell you this. I just got done with a road trip where I drove from Clemson to Chicago, from Chicago to Omaha, Nebraska, from Omaha, Nebraska to Denver, from Denver to Moab, Utah. And
Wow.
I wanted to go to Utah because I go to Colorado every year. Every year I go, I'm hiking. Somebody always say, "Hey man, you need to go to Utah," and they always show me photos. So I just did that. So that's what I'm a fan of, man. Nature and all that good stuff, and of course lifting some weights. Lift weights.
Just a little bit, right?
Just a little bit.
All right, Ricky. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. We're gonna put the link in the description. Where can people get your book?
Man, you can go to www.therickysapfoundation.com. As soon as you go, my book will pop up. You can order it. Yep.
Heck yeah. Thank you again, Ricky, for all your time, brother. Hopefully we'll have you on again in the near future.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you, brother.